the Healing Through Love podcast with Sharlene Lynch and Rose Davidson. Donna Ferguson explains to us how experiencing domestic violence affected her and her journey through healing in episode number 7.
Yeah, and like it wasn't even like it was a gut instinct. You know, when you get an intuition, you get a feeling about something. It was none of that. It was just like, that's where I sort of, it's like I closed my eyes and opened them a minute later, and that's where I was.
Definitely guided and assisted. I love it.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. So was there any repercussions from him through the process?
Oh, yeah. Look, you know, he wanted to fight me every step of the way, and he wanted custody, and then he wouldn't show up. And like there was court case after court case. You know, the trauma doesn't end there. And then, of course, I had like all the healing that I needed to do because I'd suppressed so much, and I had been stripped of my confidence, of my trust, of my ability to even really, in some cases, make decisions.
Welcome to another episode of Healing Through Love. Each week, we share ideas, experiences, and resources to increase the awareness of domestic and family violence and to empower survivors to grow and thrive. We talk with experts who share their advice, or with people who have experienced abuse, no matter where they are on their journey. This is all about healing through love. And now, here are your hosts, Sharlene Lynch and Rose Davidson.
Hello and welcome to the Healing Through Love podcast. I'm your host, Sharlene Lynch from charlenelynch.com. Healing Through Love is a social enterprise whose vision is to shift awareness on domestic and family violence within the community and to support victims and survivors. Our mission is to provide family and domestic violence survivors with a soft place to land by offering advice and services available to them and their families. We interview experts and survivors who share their personal stories and offer advice to those who have experienced abuse, no matter where they are on their journey to heal. As well as the Healing Through Love podcast, we hold an annual Pamper Day here in Adelaide and also in Tasmania for survivors of domestic and family violence. Our local businesses come together and pay it forward by providing their services and resources for a day that gives our survivors a much needed day of indulgence. Think day spa. That's exactly what it's like. And today our amazing guest is Donna. Hi, Donna. I'm Donna Ferguson, and I'm going to just do a brief introduction and then Donna's going to jump on. Donna experienced domestic violence at the age of 21. Donna's journey has been one of resilience, inner healing, self-care, education and transformation. Still educating herself today, Donna upskills herself and her knowledge and experience. Not knowing how to heal, Donna lost herself, her voice and her confidence, and connected to a network of motivated and successful people. Donna's the recipient of an International Life Coach of the Year 2022. Yay, Donna. And a nominee for the International Rising Star of the Year announced in November. Completing her training with the world-renowned behavioural expert Bob Proctor, Donna gained a deeper understanding of the cause and effect of actions using universal law and also vibrational energy. Donna's an international law of attraction coach, an international speaker and published author, and helps clients by using law of attraction programs tailored for individuals, business owners, and businesses and their teams who want to take their results to a new level of success and financial freedom. Founder of the Unique Vibration, her focus is the law of attraction coaching and belief clearing, and her vast range of clients all experience transformations regularly by facing predetermined beliefs, helping them release deep-rooted causes of programming and ascending to their greatness. It's just with so much love that I introduce to you Donna Ferguson. Hello, how are you?
Hi, Sharlene. I'm really fantastic. And you?
Magnificently magnificent. Now, Donna, I just want to take you back to when you were 21, if you're open to it, just to share a little of your story, just so we can all get on the same page.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I was a robust young woman, I guess you could say, very independent and probably a little bit, out there for some people. I came across a situation that I was in before I knew what was going on, as most instances with domestic violence, and found myself in a marriage that was filled with violence. And it started 1 month, 28 days actually after the wedding day, where I woke up in the middle of the night and with a great big startle. I didn't know where it had come from. I didn't know what had woken me up. And I was looking around the room and couldn't see anything. And I looked down at my husband and all I could see were these dark, steely gray eyes. And I thought, what the heck has just happened? And I said, what's going on? And he wouldn't answer me. So I laid back down. Well, that's when the fist came. Well, that was probably a 7-hour intervention of violence, and it was horrific. In fact, I didn't even know whether I was going to make it through the night. I didn't know if I was going to be alive the next day. I didn't know if I was going to ever see my family again. And it was, I'd never experienced DV either, in my family or anyone in our family. And I certainly didn't know about it, wasn't aware of it with friends or, my parents' friends. Like, it just wasn't there. And so I don't know how I ended up in this situation, especially being so young and independent. And, I think that's often what people question. How did you end up there? Like, why did you let that happen? And it's not about letting it happen. It's not about staying there because, we don't want to leave. There's so much fear that we're emotionally triggered with, more than the physical damage. I think the physical damage, like I've got scars on me and things like that, but it's that emotional trigger of, I'm going to come and get you, or, I'm going to hurt your family, all of these things. And we see that every day in, our daily life on the news, where people, their families have been attacked because of a previous partner, or even a current partner. And, it's horrific. It just breaks my heart when I hear these stories. And, if I can help one person, then, I'm so grateful and blessed that I'm able to share my story with people now.
Oh, I love it. Now, how did you escape from that, Donna? How did you transition out of that volatile relationship?
It was really I guess it was my first, or one of my very early situations of law of attraction, and, listening to my guardian angels, where I had gone for a job interview, and all the way into the job interview, I felt like this was really going to be reckless when I got home. And I thought, I'm never going to see my daughter again. I will definitely not be alive at the end of that, should I go home. Like, that fear was so intense. And you do learn to read those signs. And so I went into this interview. I don't know how I got through the interview. The job I actually got, by the way, but I didn't take it because of the situation that had developed over that next 24 hours. And so when I came out of the interview, I walked downstairs, and it wasn't predetermined. It wasn't something that I thought about. And I found myself just going off in the opposite direction and jumping in a taxi. Now, I was obviously guided to do that for the sake of whatever that reason was back then. And I believe strongly it was to save my life, to look after my daughter. And I jumped in the taxi and I went out to where my mum worked. And that was the first time in a very long time that I actually had felt no fear, that I actually felt like I could breathe. And I got to my mum's work and I had to go and get money off her, which was the whole of $1. I didn't even have in my wallet, right? So went and got the dollar, went out to the taxi, and that was the first time that I felt that fear come back. What if he followed me? What if he saw? I mean, there was no way, but that fear's instilled in you for so long, and the lack of confidence, that I just thought he found a way to follow me. And so, yeah, then the next 36 hours was quite traumatic, waiting for my daughter to come back to me. So, you know, we didn't have mobile phones back then. We didn't have all the things and the technology that we have these days. So he didn't have the phone on. I couldn't just ring to find out where she was. So I just had to wait. I just had to wait and try and feel safe and secure in my parents' home.
Wow. So it was a sensation. You didn't even have language around it, but you just knew that going home somehow was going to cause you more harm. And by accident or intuition, you found yourself in a taxi going off in a different direction to get help from your mum. So that's amazing. Were you able to get attention or assistance from the police to move forward, or did you have to do this all on your own?
Well, I had the support of my mum and dad, obviously, there, and my family. So I was one of the lucky ones where I could stay with them until I found that housing, what do you call it?
Assisted housing?
Government housing, emergency housing. So, but I had to wait 6 months for that. So it was an interesting journey, but I was so grateful that my parents were able to have me at their home and have my daughter with me. And, you know, and then my housing came up at a very close range to where my parents were, which was another blessing. And that's what we'd asked for. So it was really about staying quite close to them, because I didn't have a vehicle, and you know, that way I could get around easy enough. So that worked really well. But yeah, it's just one of those divine interventions that happens when you really trust in the process. And I didn't even know what that meant back then. Like, I had no clue.
So this is, you know, following your gut feeling, really. You know, you hadn't even really, you sort of made a decision, but it was not like you stomped your feet and said you made a decision. You were following your gut instinct. Yeah.
Yeah. And like, it wasn't even like it was a gut instinct. You know, when you get an intuition, you get a feeling about something. It was none of that. It was just like, that's where I sort of, it's like I closed my eyes and opened them a minute later, and that's where I was.
Definitely guided and assisted. I love it.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. So was there any repercussions from him through the process?
Oh, yeah. Look, you know, he wanted to fight me every step of the way, and he wanted custody, and then he wouldn't show up. And like, there was court case after court case. You know, the trauma doesn't end there. And then, of course, I had like all the healing that I needed to do, because I'd suppressed so much, and I had been stripped of my confidence, of my trust, of my ability to even really, in some cases, make decisions, because, you know, that was all taken away. And so there's a lot of work to be done, and a lot of things that you need to deal with coming out of that. Solicitors, court, counselors who tell you, you have to try and make this marriage work. And I went, excuse me. No, I don't think so. It is already at the point of being irreparable, and there is no way I can move back in and get beaten every day just because you think that's the right thing for me to do.
I'm happy to say we've progressed from that. And society has a different view, courtesy of companies like Healing Through Love, who reach out and lift that level of awareness, you know, pull back the covers and reveal the stories underneath. So Now, knowing what you know, enlightened, educated, and really in line with the law of attraction, what sort of a story do you think was the story that you were telling yourself that allowed you to get married to this person in the first place?
I was always a bit of an adventurer. And so I liked that adventure of, maybe a little bit of that bad boy kind of image. Like he had some tattoos and, that would have horrified my parents. But, I was a bit rebellious, I guess, growing up in my teenage years and, late teens and early 20s. And so, that was exciting because it was like an adventure, hearing stories that he had shared and his friends shared. And, you just don't see the other side until it's too late. You're caught up in this excitement and adventure and, doing things that, you wouldn't normally do in their I guess not traditional ways of being in a relationship, but just a little bit different, a little bit out there. And I was always up for adventure. I was always getting in trouble for coming home late because I've been out on some adventure. And so, that didn't stop for a very long time. And I got caught up with the wrong person and at the wrong time. And that's I take full responsibility for that, because if I wasn't thinking the way I was thinking, if I wasn't acting the way I was acting, if I wasn't making the decisions that I was making that led me there that day, then, nobody else is responsible for that except myself. And I'm so grateful for that experience, because look what it's given me today.
Yes, absolutely. An opportunity to transform and transcend other people's lives. I love it.
Absolutely.
So when you were going through the healing process, did you, because it's something that always comes up. We love to know how you got out, and we love to know, like, how did you begin the healing process? Did you have a counselor? Did you do any group work? Like, what were the first steps you took moving forward?
It took a very long time. I didn't grow up in a home where we have motivational speakers or inspiration, not even, and I'm not saying it was bad. I had a pretty great childhood, but not given that you can do anything you want to. You can achieve anything you want to. If that's what you want to do, then you just go and do it. We'll support you. It was more about, you got to work hard for, like the old money stories, got to work hard for your money. You need to get married and have children and be in a stable, relationship and have a stable job and have all, the house and the picket fence, like all of those traditional things, I guess. And so I still lived in those stories for a very long time, until I realized that a thought from when I was 7 years old came up for me, where I knew I could have anything I wanted. When I was 7 years old, I sat in my room, was playing this game. I always used to play by myself. And, I had sisters and I had friends, but when I was on my own, I used to go in my room and just play this game. And I knew I could help anybody do anything, and that I would be, I compared myself to some people who were from back then, Ceylon, and their parents were ambassadors for the country. And so they had chauffeurs and they had like this nice home, and, they were beautiful people as well. But I said, I'm going to have everything that they've got. I'm going to have so much money. I'm going to have my chauffeur. I'm going to have my chef. I'm going to have this. I'm going to have that. And so I imagined that when I was 7, but it took probably another 20 years for me to even think about that. And I thought, gosh, I can do this. Like, I can absolutely have this, and I can do anything I want to. And I started connecting with networks that led me on a path, sometimes a bit wobbly, that path might have been, but it's given me friendships. It's given me mindset. It's given me the next step, like led me to people to educate myself. And then, of course, I came across the amazing Bob Proctor and did his work, and God bless him. You know, he's living a beautiful life in another life right now. But his work was amazing with really teaching you how to get into those old stories and those old paradigms and understand what you think you are led to believe to be true that perhaps isn't quite so.
So true. It's all stories, everything's stories.
Absolutely.
And we need to start with, you know, either editing the story that we're having or just creating a new one of the two.
Yeah.
And I love it. If we can just keep that and bear that in mind, that everything that happens for us is story. And even the story is a story.
Oh, absolutely.
It's like Inception, story inside story inside story inside story.
I know. But also, I think one of the biggest things I got from that journey was that all the emotions that we have suppressed over all our years, even from, you know, conception, the emotions that we feel during that time, really do create something that we don't deal with. So unless you allow it to come up, and I can tell you the layers that came up, things that came up for me, I was like, I thought I already dealt with that, but you literally haven't dealt with that until you've dealt with it. And then it can be an emotion that's attached to a similar experience that actually triggers something. And while you think it might be the same thing, there's something a little bit deeper that we haven't dealt with. So we need to go back and do that. So it is about just unraveling. Yeah.
So true, Donna. I really felt that as a business coach of many years, that, and in a different space, that I had progressed from the stories that had led me to be with the wrong person and end up black and blue. Yeah, in 2019, which is not that long ago, I ended up in the same situation. And, you know, even when we know what we know, we still can slide into those patterns of behavior, even when we think we're out the other side. So it's always about checking in, you know, how does this feel? You know, am I on the right road? Do I need to make adjustments? Do I need to edit the story? Do I need to get a new story? And I
where
think
did that thought come from? Why am I thinking about that? Okay, what's underlying from that? And the second that you have a thought where you start thinking about it, which is great because you're so conscious of what's going on within yourself, that you can automatically go, okay, well, now I know where that's come from. Let's just deal with that, get rid of it. And it starts happening like this, you know, because you can manage it and you understand it so much better.
So true. I will find myself every single day saying, what's that about? And not just once, but many times. So this is not the end game. This is still part of the process. The more connected you are, the more open you are to rewriting your story and moving forward. It just keeps expanding. And yeah, I think to the day we die, Donna, we're still going to be avid learners, and we're still going to be soaking it up and helping ourselves and helping others. So yeah, I love it. Wow. So what a journey. And so why do you think it was, out of all of the modalities that you could choose, out of, you know, the thousands of people that have walked it already and are now sharing, why do you think it was Bob that you chose to follow?
Look, it just made sense to me. I was on this journey, you know, I'd watched The Secret in 2006, I think, when it first came out. I really wanted things to work, and I started looking for a coach that could help me, give me the answers. We know that doesn't happen, right? So, you know, give me the answers or align with where I was headed. And you know, I'd find one and they were good, but they weren't great. And then I'd find somebody else and it was just completely a disaster. And I was losing money, you know, all the time. And or spending money and not finding what I was looking for. And sometimes you don't know what that is until you find it. You know, it's like that little black dress that you're looking for a special occasion. You have no clue what it looks like until you see it. And it was the same with this. I had no clue what I was looking for until I felt it. And I felt this connection with the work and the way that you know, the coaches are asking you to think about stuff, think about things. And why do I think that happened? And it just starts creating this deeper awareness of who you are, and start to understand that, like you said, these stories that we have, not to edit them so much, but to rewrite it. That's not who I am anymore. And it was many coaches later that I came across it, and I just went, you know what, that just works for me. My business changed, my thoughts changed, my energy changed. I really started to live in what I believed my purpose was. And then a few years later, I found that, you know, I really wanted to create the law of attraction in a way where it was viewed in the work that I do rather than hiding it. Because, you know, that's that old story of not really wanting to be seen for who we are. Perhaps a little bit, yeah.
You know, that, and it's so strange, is that that's the one most powerful lesson that we can all learn. And listeners, regardless of where you are on your journey, you know, just at the beginning or going through the process of leaving or in the healing journey, that when we know that we've got the answers inside of us, and when we can lean into that power and be authentically us, because there's only one of us, that's what the difference is. And people do want to know what you know. They do want to listen to what you've got to say. And yeah, that's a powerful, pivotal point. Now, you've got some fantastic offers for people, and I'd love you to just talk maybe a little bit about, you've got a resource, which is a Linktree library of things that people can access, and we're going to put the link up here in the description of the podcast and then also on YouTube. So can you maybe tell us about at least one of the different free resources that are there in the library?
Yeah, absolutely. So I do my Law of Attraction 10-day challenge, which is like an introduction to, you know, what you might want to do after that. And we work together to really get you some results. And it really opens up your way of thinking, but it also gets you to look at things a little bit differently. And really, at the end, surrender to the universe and just let that flow happen. I know it's only 10 days, but it is powerful in that sense that we do actually create some results for you through that. I, as a hypnotist as well, I actually do some processes, very gentle processes to help you release as we move through that. As a certified belief clearing practitioner, I also use those processes. That's something more recently that I've done, and that's why I continue to upskill, because it's always something that I can help my people, you know, work with and help them through different stages of where they're up to. So that's an amazing offer. But there's also something else that I really want to mention, and that's the water healing meditation, where we can just heal so much of our past just with I think it's like 4 or 5, oh no, it might be more than that, it might be 8 or 9 minutes, just to relax and listen to that, and you can really heal some areas of your life.
I love that. That's fantastic. Now, you do have an amazing offer, which for the listeners, if you're at that point in your journey where you're ready to step into the next level, so this is past trauma, and then this is into like healing. Can you tell us a little bit about the results program that you offer?
Yeah, so the Results Driven Academy is for people who have started their journey. They kind of know what they want, but perhaps don't know how to go about that. And so we work together over a period of time. It's a 6-month journey, and you can join that 6-month journey at any time that you want to. It's ongoing. So if you join for 6 months and then you want to continue, you can stay in it, like you don't have to leave. And you can join that certification program at any point. So we really do look at and spend a lot of time on overcoming, that self-image that you carry around with you, and bring you back to really who you truly are. We get you to look at your beliefs and whether they are still serving you, or whether we need to maybe create new beliefs around that and release the old ones. We look at overcoming fear and stepping up to another level. I know that was very powerful for me when I did that, and now I feel that shift every time it happens. Doing all this work, I've done it all myself. I don't teach anything that I haven't done myself. And so what that brings is an opening and an opportunity to grow, and that's what I want to see. I want to see you grow. I want to support you. This is live with me. These sessions are every week or every fortnight, whatever you choose, and I am there helping you every week. So it's very powerful in the sense that you're not left alone. It is live. We are there together, and I will also offer you support outside that group situation so that you can ask for help, and we'll do a little session on our own as well. So it's very powerful in that sense that I'm there to support you fully. And since I really stepped into this law of attraction, my business has gone global. I've got, Kenya, UK, US, Canada, New Zealand, all around Australia, and it just keeps growing. So, you can do that too. Whatever it is, we'll find what it is that your true purpose is. If you're tired of being in a job where you're working for somebody else, let's get you into your purpose and your passion and your drive that creates something different for yourself, so that you're not reliant upon other people giving you your income, because we deserve more than that. Really.
Oh, I love it. So listeners, this is more once you're past the trauma space and you're into what I like to term as the void, where there's more, but you're not quite sure what it is that you need to do. You need to get connected to the purpose, or your life purpose, and what you want to do, the things that light you up and make you feel amazing. And it might have been a while since that's happened, because that might have been, earlier on in life. And Donna will help you unpack that and help you move forward to build a life that's, the life of your dreams. So that's fantastic. So we've got both of those links, the link for the link tree, which is where the free resource library is, and that beautiful water meditation, and also the 10-day challenge, and also the link to the 6-month program as well. So we'll make sure we put those in there. Now, before we leave, Donna, I just wanted to say, or ask really, if there was one piece of advice that you could give your younger self, and this would also be for anyone who's still in that space, what would be that piece of advice that you would have given your younger self in your 20s?
My younger self in my 20s, I think it's, my 20s were very foggy because of the situation, but I think I can just really say to people, if you feel something, trust it. That 7-year-old me that really knew what I wanted, but, I did all sorts of things outside of that. The resistance, the, self-sabotage, all of those things that we really can avoid if we just trust what we feel and what we're connecting to, because your intuition will give you the answers, save you money, save you time, more than any other tool that you can have, in your life and in your journey. And your toolbox is there with a lot of stuff in it, but that is one thing, just trust it, because at the end of the day, you're going to come back and you're going to think about it and go, when you go looking for furniture and you look at 10,000 different pieces of furniture and you go back to the first one and go, why did I bother wasting all that time and energy when the first one was the one I always wanted? So just trust that. Like I do it now. My decision-making process is like this. Yeah.
Donna, that's fantastic. Thank you so much. So the message is to trust your intuition. Thank you so much, Donna, for spending a quality half hour with us and sharing your gifts and your tools and also your amazing resources as well. So make sure that you have a look at that link, the link tree, which is where those free resources are, the 10-day expansion and also the water meditation as well, amongst others. There's so many in there. It's like a lolly shop. You'll have so much fun and
take the candy while you're looking.
And give great consideration to the longer 6 months program. So if you're in that space where you're ready to expand, then yes, absolutely have a chat to Donna. Thank you, Donna, for being with us today. It's been an absolute blessing to have you here with Healing Through Love. We love having your company. I feel a strong affiliation to your energy, and it's been such a blessing. Can we say goodbye to the audience?
Goodbye, lovely people.
Thank you. Bye for now.
Thank you for joining us for this episode of Healing Through Love. You can get further resources, see the show notes, or simply reach out to us via our website at htlaustralia.org. Thanks so much for joining us, and we look forward to your company next time on the Healing Through Love podcast.